Told my sister I don't want my daughters looking up to her. She got mad, called me judgmental, gave me the silent treatment, then slowly started changing. And now she's finally someone worth looking up to. Family has always been a complicated thing for me. I love my sister. I really do, but love doesn't always mean admiration. And that's where things get tricky. My sister, Lisa, is 2 years older than me, and growing up, she was the definition of wild. While I was studying for exams and planning for college, Lisa was sneaking out, skipping school, and spending weekends at sketchy parties. She barely scraped by in high school and spent most of her 20s jumping from one impulsive decision to the next. Bad relationships, shady jobs, and an impressive history of getting fired from nearly all of them. Now, at 34, Lisa still hasn't exactly settled. She's got a lifestyle that seems fun from the outside. Partying, traveling on money she doesn't have, hopping between boyfriends. But there's no stability, no real direction. She still borrows money from our parents, still calls me in a panic when she's overdue on rent, and still shrugs off responsibility like it's an optional part of adulthood. I, on the other hand, took a very different path. I got my degree, built a steady career, married my husband, and now have 2 daughters, Emily, 10, and Sophie, 7. My life isn't flashy, but it's solid. And more than anything, I want my daughters to have strong, responsible women to look up to. Lisa, of course, is the cool aunt. She brings them silly gifts, lets them stay up late when she babysits, and tells them stories about her adventures. They adore her, which is fine, until Emily came home from school last week and said, "Aunt Lisa is so cool. I want to be just like her when I grow up." Cue my internal alarm bells. That night, I sat down with Lisa and told her, as gently as I could, that while I love her and appreciate the fun she brings into their lives, I don't want my daughters idolizing her. I explained that I want them to have role models who demonstrate responsibility, independence, and financial stability. Lisa laughed at first, thinking I was joking. Then, when she realized I wasn't, her face dropped. "So you think I'm a failure?" she shot back. I didn't say that, but I also didn't say she wasn't. I told her I just didn't want my kids thinking her lifestyle was something to aspire to, that I want them to grow up with ambition and goals beyond just seeing where life takes them. She called me judgmental, said I was acting like I was better than her, that just because I have a husband, kids, and a mortgage doesn't mean I'm living life the right way. Now she won't talk to me. She's gone completely radio silent, and my mom says I was too harsh. But was I really supposed to just sit back and let my daughters idolize someone who can't even keep her phone bill paid on time? I don't think I'm a bad person for wanting better for them. But now I'm wondering, was I wrong for saying it out loud? A few days passed, and Lisa still wasn't talking to me. Normally, I let it go. I've learned over the years that she thrives on drama, and silence is just another way she tries to make people feel guilty. But then my mom called. "You really hurt her," she said, in that disapproving mom tone that instantly made me feel like a teenager again. "You need to apologize." "For what?" I asked. "For wanting my daughters to have role models who actually pay their bills." Mom sighed. "Lisa's not perfect, but she loves those girls. She just wants to be part of their lives." "That's not the problem," I said. "The problem is that I don't want them growing up thinking her lifestyle is something to admire." Mom got quiet for a second, then hit me with, "Maybe if you weren't so judgmental, Lisa wouldn't feel like she had to push back all the time." That one stung. Not because I thought she was right, but because it was the same excuse our family had always made for Lisa. She wasn't reckless. We were just too critical. She wasn't irresponsible. We just didn't understand her. It was exhausting, but I let it go. I figured Lisa needed time, and honestly, I was enjoying the peace and quiet. Until Emily came home from school a few days later with a new announcement. Aunt Lisa said she's taking me and Sophie on a girls' trip. I blinked. "She what?" "She said it's a surprise, but she's planning something really fun for us." I felt my eye twitch. Because, of course, instead of talking to me directly, Lisa had decided to go around me. That night, I texted her, "Did you tell my daughters you're taking them on a trip?" A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Lisa." Yup, smiling face with smiling eyes. "Me? You didn't think to ask me first?" "Lisa, it's just a fun little weekend. Don't be such a control freak." And that was it. No details, no explanation. Just another example of Lisa assuming that because she thought something was a good idea, everyone else should just go along with it. So I called her. She picked up on the third ring. "Geez, what now?" she said, sounding exasperated, like I was the problem here. "What now?" I repeated. "How about you don't promise my kids a trip without asking their mother first?" Lisa groaned. "It's not a big deal. It's just a weekend trip to the beach. I thought they'd love it." "That's not the point," I said. "The point is you don't get to make those decisions. You don't get to swoop in with your grand gestures and completely ignore the fact that I'm their parent." Lisa scoffed. "God, you're such a buzzkill. No wonder they're obsessed with me. You're so uptight all the time." That did it. "You know what, Lisa? Maybe they love you because you're fun, but fun doesn't pay the bills. Fun doesn't keep a roof over their heads or food on the table. Fun doesn't teach them how to be strong, responsible women who don't have to rely on other people to bail them out of bad decisions." Lisa went quiet. "You want to be the cool aunt? Fine, but you don't get to undermine me as their mom. And you don't get to make me the bad guy just because I actually think about the consequences of things." She muttered something under her breath. "What?" I snapped. I said, "You sound just like Dad." I froze. That was low. Our dad had been strict, sure, but mostly out of necessity. He'd worked 2 jobs just to keep us afloat, while Lisa was off sneaking out of the house and doing whatever she wanted. She never had to think about responsibility, because someone else was always there to clean up her mess. "You know what?" I said, my voice shaking. "Maybe I'm like Dad, and maybe that's a good thing." And then I hung up. She didn't text me back. It's been a week now, and Lisa still isn't talking to me. My mom keeps trying to convince me to smooth things over, but I refuse to apologize for wanting better for my daughters. The girls keep asking when Aunt Lisa is taking them on the trip. I finally just told them the truth. She didn't ask me first, so the answer is no. They were disappointed, but they got over it. I know Lisa will come around eventually. She always does. But this time, I'm done tiptoeing around her feelings just to keep the peace. Because if teaching my daughters to value responsibility over recklessness make me the bad guy, then so be it. A couple of weeks passed, and things had gone eerily quiet. Lisa hadn't texted, called, or even sent one of her usual passive-aggressive Instagram stories that were clearly meant for me. At first, it was a relief. No drama, no stress, just peace. But then my mom called again. "She's hurt, you know," she said, like I hadn't already figured that out. I sighed. "Mom, I didn't say anything untrue. She doesn't get to make promises to my kids without asking me first." Mom hesitated. "I get that, but you know how Lisa is. She doesn't think things through the way you do." "That's exactly my point," I said. "And that's exactly why I don't want my daughters looking up to her." There was a pause, then a quieter, softer voice. "You don't think she already knows that?" That shut me up for a second. Because, honestly, maybe Lisa did know. Maybe deep down, she was aware that she wasn't the kind of person you'd want her kids to emulate. Maybe that's why she had to be the fun aunt, the one with the big surprises and spontaneous adventures. Because deep down, she knew she didn't have anything else to offer. And maybe that's why it hurt so much when I said it out loud. I let out a slow breath. "Mom, I'm not trying to hurt her, but I'm trying to raise my daughters right. And if that means setting boundaries, then that's what I have to do." Mom sighed. "Just don't let this go too far, okay? You two only have each other." I didn't have an answer for that. A few days later, Lisa finally reached out. "Lisa, hey, you busy?" That was new. No sarcastic comments, no dramatic declarations. Just a normal text. "Me, not really. What's up?" She took a while to respond. Then, "Lisa, can we talk?" I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I answered her call, her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "I didn't mean to step on your toes," she said before I could even speak. I don't know. I wanted them to think I was cool." I exhaled. "Lisa, they already think you're cool." "Yeah, but," she trailed off. "I guess I just wanted to feel like I was important to them, you know? Like I actually matter in their lives." That hit me harder than I expected. I sat down. "Lisa, of course you matter to them. They love you. But I need you to understand that there's a difference between being fun and being reliable. And right now, I need them to look up to people who are both." She was quiet for a long time. "I don't know if I can be that," she admitted. It was the first time Lisa had ever really acknowledged her own shortcomings. And honestly, It kind of floored me. You can, I said without hesitation. But that's up to you. Another pause. Then, in a small voice. You really think I'm that bad? I sighed. I think you have a good heart. But you make bad choices. She let out a humorless laugh. Yeah, no argument there. For the first time in a long time, it actually felt like we were having a real conversation. One where we weren't just snapping at each other or trying to win. Just two sisters trying to figure things out. I don't want to fight with you, Lisa, I said finally. I just want you to respect the fact that I'm their mom. I get it, she murmured. I really do. And for once, I actually believed her. Lisa still has a long way to go. She's not suddenly going to become a pillar of responsibility overnight. But something shifted between us after that conversation. She's making more of an effort now, not just to be fun, but to be present in a meaningful way. She started calling the girls just to check in. She helped Emily with a school project last week instead of just taking her out for ice cream. And when Sophie asked her about the trip again, Lisa told her, I should have asked your mom first. That wasn't fair of me. It's not a huge step, but it's a step. And for now, that's enough. A few months have passed, and things between Lisa and me have settled into something different. Not perfect, not magically fixed, but better. More real. She still has her moments. Times when she acts impulsively or brushes off responsibility like it's someone else's problem. But she's trying. And for Lisa, trying is a pretty big deal. The biggest surprise, though? The girls still adore her, but differently. It's subtle, but I see it. Before, Lisa was like this untouchable, larger-than-life figure to them. The cool aunt who swooped in with big gifts and even bigger stories. Now, they see her more as a person. A flawed, messy, sometimes unreliable person, but a person who loves them. And that I can live with. One night, Lisa came over for dinner. Nothing fancy, just a regular Tuesday night meal. Pasta, garlic bread, some salad. She plopped down at the table with a dramatic sigh. God, I'm exhausted, she groaned. I raised an eyebrow. What? From driving over here? She shot me a look. No, es martas. I actually worked a double shift today. I almost dropped my fork. Wait, what? Lisa had always been the bare minimum type when it came to jobs, working just enough to get by before quitting the moment it got boring. A double shift was unheard of. Yeah, I know, she said, seeing my expression. It's wild. I'm trying this new thing where I actually keep a job for more than 6 months. Emily piped up. Are you still doing the bartending thing? Lisa smirked. Yep. Turns out people tip more when you actually show up to work consistently. Who knew? You still here. Lisa, are you actually becoming responsible? She groaned. God, don't say it like that. You make it sound so boring. I laughed, shaking my head. But deep down, I felt something I hadn't felt for Lisa in a long time, pride. After dinner, as she was getting ready to leave, she lingered at the door for a second. Hey, she said, glancing at me. I know I'm still kind of a mess, but thanks for not giving up on me. I smiled. Lisa, I never gave up on you. I just needed you to meet me halfway. She nodded, biting her lip. I'm trying. And for the first time, I believed her. Lisa's still Lisa. She'll never be the kind of person who has a 5-year plan or a perfectly balanced budget. She's still figuring things out, still stumbling her way through adulthood. But now, when Emily and Sophie talk about her, they don't just say, Aunt Lisa is so cool. They say, Aunt Lisa is trying her best. And honestly, that means so much more. A few more months passed, and Lisa kept surprising me in ways I never expected. She didn't suddenly turn into a model of responsibility, but for the first time in years, she was showing up for things that mattered. She kept her job longer than she ever had before. She stopped borrowing money from Mom and even managed to pay off one of her credit cards. But the biggest change? She actually listened when I set boundaries. One weekend, she asked if she could take the girls to a theme park. But this time, she didn't go straight to them first. She called me first. I know it's last minute, she said, but I was thinking about taking Emily and Sophie to Magic Kingdom for the day. If you're cool with it, totally your call. I blinked at my phone. I had braced myself for another, I already promised them situation, but instead, she was asking. Not assuming, not demanding, just asking. And that was huge. I took a breath. I appreciate you asking first, Lisa. Let me think about it, okay? She hesitated. That's not a no, though, right? I smiled. It's not a no. And that was enough for her. That weekend, Lisa pulled up in front of my house, honking her horn like a maniac. Disney time, ladies, she shouted out the window. Emily and Sophie practically flew out the door. I stepped outside and leaned against her car window. You swear to me you'll keep an eye on them? No losing them in crowds, no sneaking them onto roller coasters they're too short for. Lisa put a hand over her heart. Scout's honor. I will be so responsible you won't even recognize me. I narrowed my eyes. I don't believe that for a second. She grinned. Okay, fair. But I will take good care of them. I promise. And for the first time in a long time, I actually trusted her promise. The trip was a success. No lost children, no surprise injuries, no panic phone calls. When they got home, Emily and Sophie could not stop talking about it. Aunt Lisa let us eat ice cream for breakfast. Emily squealed. Lisa shot me a sheepish look. Okay, one bad decision. But otherwise, perfect record. I shook my head, trying not to smile. I'll allow it. Sophie ran up to Lisa and threw her arms around her waist. You're the best, Aunt Lisa. Lisa hugged her back. Yeah. Don't tell your mom. She already thinks I'm a bad influence. I folded my arms. Not bad, just moderately questionable. Lisa snorted. I'll take it. And honestly, so would I. Because Lisa would never be the picture-perfect role model. She'd always be a little reckless, a little chaotic, a little Lisa. But she was showing up. She was growing. And she was trying. And that was enough. A few nights later, Lisa called me out of the blue. No drama, no urgent crisis, just a regular call. That alone was rare. What's up? I asked, kicking my feet up on the couch. Lisa hesitated. Nothing really. Just wanted to talk. That was new. Okay, I said, waiting. She let out a long sigh. You know, for a long time, I thought you just wanted to be better than me. Like, your whole thing was proving that you were the responsible one while I was the screw-up. I swallowed. Lisa. No, let me finish, she said. I was wrong. It's not that you think you're better than me. It's that you actually care about me enough to want me to be better. That hit me harder than I expected. For years, I had tried to push her towards something more, anything more. And for years, she had pushed right back. But now, for the first time, she saw it for what it was. Not competition. Not judgment. Love. You've always been my big sister, I said softly. Even when I was the one looking out for you. Lisa laughed. Yeah, well, I think maybe it's time I start looking out for myself. I felt my throat tighten. I think that's a good idea. The next time the girls talked about Lisa, I listened carefully. Aunt Lisa said she wants to save up for a big trip, Sophie said, twirling her fork at dinner. She's going to take us somewhere really cool. I raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah? Where to? She doesn't know yet, Emily said. She said she has to save first, because she doesn't want to use a credit card like she always does. That made me stop. Lisa was actually planning ahead? Budgeting? That was new. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first real sign of change. Not just for my daughters, but for Lisa herself. Because now, when they talked about her, they didn't just call her the fun aunt. Now, they called her the aunt who kept her promises. And that meant everything. Lisa isn't perfect. She never will be. But she's growing. And for the first time, I think she might actually be someone worth looking up to.